Okay, so let's get started on this. And I have to do this. I'm sorry. We'll have to go through some background on the module and kind of what we're doing here before we can jump all into it. So first of all, when this module gets installed, if you go into navigate into your Windows version 9 directory, there's several files that are included. The main file is the data file, which has the exported functions, the manifest information details about the module, which I use Windows, the PowerShell Studio 2020 to do this, to create it. So it writes this out for me, and that's the file we actually would load if you were running the import module command. And the second is the module, which I'm loading here in the background. I did create a test module, which as I went through all the functions, has effectively everything that I've done with the test. So all of the commands, the syntax, examples that I've used with my various executives. So there's a lot of this out there. A lot of it's duplicated as I went through and tested it. But I wanted to provide something that you could see and understand the syntax of a lot of these commands as I went through them. Now, in terms of the module and how this works once loaded, you'll notice that when you looked at that list, and I'll load this again, but when you looked at the list under IP control version 9, this is my module, and these are the functions that'll be exported to you and available. Basically, I follow all of the verb syntax as much as possible through the PowerShell recommendations. Some deviate, some are, utility things, etc. But it's based on basically two functions for the ads, and I'll go through these in terms of site and cloning information, down into some utility users or functions, which are IP address related functions, like converting a network into a series of subnets, getting IP address lists that you can then navigate through, and various manipulation of the address. So there's a lot of good functions here that I've collected over the years. Then down into really basically the export commands, which we'll go through. And the exports here all show and demonstrate the ability to select filters and or having the ability to have preset commands that you'll toggle through. So it'll show you the syntax on the command line. After the gets or exports, we'll get into the gets, which are simple, get an object, get a device, get a network. Then into the imports, then into the actual deletes, and then some additional sets and things that I use for some support utilities, which, again, it may or may not be in the final release, but available there nonetheless. Now, the way that all of these scripts work, and just for reference, is so if I do, say, get that send command on the address line, um, I always have a command, and let me do this the other way. So let's do get IP address. I always have the same syntax and the same position of commands, and it always starts with the IP control executive, the IP control username, and then everything else is either part of the parameters or part of the function. So you can either use it with parameters, as I do here, or you can use it without. So as long as in the positional, they're in the first 0 and 1 position, all of your scripts will run the same. Okay. Then other parameters you'll see, like if I have here an IP address where it's asking for a prompt, I would put in the IP. And then if I had other things like a container, which would be required for overlapping networks or blocks, you would have to specify the container as well. Now, some of these I also extend some functionality if I'm running on a local LAN or testing that I can go out and do something like a DNS lookup as well. And might want to give it a username if I'm doing this. And let's do DNS lookup. Okay. So I'm running this on my local LAN, and this, may or may not resolve to it. It actually did. So when I'm pulling this information out, you'll see the object. I try to get everything back in its object notation that you can then save to a variable and manipulate it very easily as a custom object. And also, I built in some custom functions that might do other things like, query the DNS. So in this particular instance, I said, well, go out and query the DNS to show me the resource records assigned to it. And I can then check and verify that it's in there, right? So just one way how that works there on the command line. Now, as you run each of these commands, I do, and in every function, let me just show you the top here. I have a get IPC token, which is used by every method. So when I started this module, every single function was a separate script. And I did that because I combined everything after the fact to create a module to distribute. However, I did keep a lot of this functionality in here so that you can copy and paste this as necessary if you're trying to distribute this amongst your team, but you don't want to expose all the APIs. So I included everything within each function that's necessary to copy this. And the basic structure of the function, no matter what it is they have input parameters, your mandatory, optional, and this may or change as well. I then have a class type that's required that I'm setting to basically in this version, ignore certificates. And I know the security guys are going to be howling at me, but if you want to use certificates right away, go ahead and modify it as you see fit. But there's a lot of complexity in this that gets into the security level that I'm just trying to expose the APIs, but something that will change and that will come about. But in the interim, I am creating some overrides of this basically so that I can trust these policies to the executive or to the cloud automation appliances. And in this particular function here, there's a support that returns a class that initializes this. Right? So every method has this. I then go create the header information and I get the token on every command so that we can then use that in that session's header. All right, so everyone and commands are the same. And then if I'm using some type of admin URL or other function, you'll see the commands and then wrapped into a try, catch, and other processing. So you'll see here then, this is the then invoke REST method that PowerShell uses, that I use in this commands, that then I pass in the URL, the functions, and the headers. So that's the basic function structure of this. I do have some documentation all throughout that I plan to upgrade as well. So if you do get help, a lot of this has it or all will by the time it's released. And some other functionality here that I try to help the user if you're doing some things that are complex, like cloning IPs or modifying data and importing again. A lot of these commands are going to help you with that. Okay, so I hope that wasn't too long, and that's just a real high structure of this in terms of the module. But then secondly, in terms of IP control, you are going to need to have a login. You're going to need some users that have access to the system. I highly recommend you have the API CLI guide available to you. You'll need to have this view. And I use everything in REST API, so you want to have access to your Swagger interface as well as you're testing this. So these are effectively the prereqs that you'll need for each of these. And in terms of your user, you'll need to make sure that that administrator, whoever you're using, and excuse me, under properties and policies, has specifically the uh, type of user as being a web UI, a CLI, and or both. And I recommend both while you're doing testing and developing and um, figuring out which ones to use. All right, so that's our quick start here. And I think from this point forward, we are going to actually go through all of the examples. I think I'm just going to kind of go through the sections, starting from the convert functionality, showing you some of the helper functions, which are really useful, and then jumping right into the IP control APIs and kind of starting from the top, working our way down. All right, so see you in the next series of videos. This may take us a while, but I'm going to try to keep them short enough that you can follow this and not get too bored and be able to do this in your free time. All right, so thanks for bearing with me, and see you soon, and take care.